Hi, Chief.
There she is. I haven't been able to congratulate you yet. Following your dad's footsteps, that's great. Congratulations to you, sir. That's great.
You don't like it? You don't like it? Straight? No.
Paul's got his glasses on. Wow.
Get working on that software.
I have it already.
Okay, good. Careful with the door there.
Call the stated session of City Council to order. Please rise for the invocation followed by the pledge. Tonight we ask that we pray for the various levels of city officials, and in particular for this assembled council of our city. We ask that you graciously grant them the wisdom to govern and amid conflicting interests, resolve those with issues of our times in a sensible manner, a sense of welfare and true needs of our people, confidence in what is good and fitting for our residents, the ability to work together in harmony even when there's honest disagreement. Tonight we also ask that we remember the wonderful joy and happiness that Mr. Dan Bonner, better known as Dapper Dan the Clown, brought to all ages. May he rest in peace. Amen. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Brown?
Here.
Mr. Ettinger?
Here.
Mr. Milan?
Here.
Mr. O'Connell?
Here.
Dr. Ruggles?
Here.
Mrs. Volcano?
Here.
Mayor Panto?
Here. We'll have approval of the agenda.
Move to approve. Second.
Moved in second. Any discussions?
I'm
Roll
sorry,
call.
Who seconded it?
I
Mr.
did.
O'Connell.
Thanks, Dave.
Roll call when you have a chance.
Mr. Ettinger?
Aye.
Mr. Milan?
Aye.
Mr. O'Connell?
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mrs. Volcano?
Aye.
Mayor Panto?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
This time we have actions on our minutes of the February 12th meeting.
Move to approve. Second.
Moved in second. Any additions, deletions, or corrections? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Milan?
Aye.
Mr. O'Connell?
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mrs. Volcano?
Aye.
Mayor Panto?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Ettinger?
At this time, we have public comment from any member of the public who would like to address City Council on agenda items only. If at the end of the meeting, there is an opportunity for the public to speak again on any item, even whether it's on the agenda or not. Seeing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda, Madam Clerk. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Stephanie Gallagher. It's 402 Newlands Road East, Easton, PA 18040. On your agenda tonight is to hopefully approve the trap, neuter, and release program for the feral and community cats within the city of Easton, contracting with No Nonsense Neutering. Last year, I came to council representing several different rescues in the area with a concern that council had contracted with one vendor and that inhibited our abilities to get the program done. Council was gracious enough to agree that anyone that is willing to volunteer their time to trap, neuter, vaccinate, and release feral and community cats in the city, or any resident that would like to participate in solving that problem should be able to do so. And I'm very proud to say that after council made that decision, we were able to trap, neuter, vaccinate, and release 100 cats within the city over a 10-week period. We made a very big dent And in doing so, the rescues that were involved in that effort were also able to pull countless numbers of kittens and friendly cats, for which the rescues then absorbed the cost to have those animals vetted and to find adoptive homes for them after they were fostered. It's very important to continue this effort. Trap, neuter, and release is not a one-shot deal. I wish it was. But it's an effort that often takes several years before you start to see the number of kittens born on the street go down. We made a very big dent last year, and I'm hopeful the council will enable us to do that again this year, and enable to help the residents of the city when they call for help to be able to help them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else from the public like to address city council on agenda items only? Now, hearing none, we'll go on. Thank you. Madam Clerk?
Okay, under the consent agenda, we have certificates of appropriateness being approved for 34 North 2nd Street, 44 North 2nd Street, 132-142 South 3rd Street, 48 South 6th Street, 520-522 Ferry Street, 436 Northampton Street, 441-443 Northampton Street, and 118 Spring Garden Street. We also have a resolution to approve a third handicap parking space in the 200 block of Palmer Street and the 400 block of West Wilkesboro Street. And then we are also going to have a resolution approving various appointments to the authority boards and commissions.
Move the consent agenda.
Second.
Moved in second, discussion. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Ettinger?
Aye.
Mr. Milan?
Aye.
Mr. O'Connell?
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mrs. Volcano?
Aye.
Mayor Panto?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
I will now accept the Eastern Area Joint Sewer Authority October, November, December meeting minutes. On behalf of council, we'll move right into committee reports. Councilmember Brown, Finance.
Thank you, Mayor. Last night, the Finance Committee did meet yesterday, and I apologize for my absence. But we had an update on the 2009, and I know that Mr. Leckie went over where we are with the fire department and as we go into the new season. So with that said, if anyone have any questions, you can either forward to Mark, or you could ask me some questions. If I can't answer them, I'll get an answer for you. On my agenda this evening, I have two resolutions going forward for no nonsense nutrient, and also for approval of the debt and incur. And that's all I have for this evening.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Brown. Councilman Volcano, Economic Development.
Thank you, Mayor. First, I'd like to report that there was a vacant property review committee meeting this evening at 4 o'clock, and they approved to begin the first process on 1220 Ferry Street to be sent to the Planning Commission. They voted on that to be sent to them to be blighted, to start the process on that property. Also, this evening, I have a resolution for redevelopment assistance, capital program and application, and business plan in support of the North 4th Street parking garage that we will be voting on later this evening. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman Volcano. Councilman O'Connell, Planning and Codes Committee.
No report, Mayor.
Public Safety Committee, Dr. Ruggles.
Thank you. I do have two items on the agenda tonight, but I wanted to make an announcement that Lafayette College received the Carnegie Community Engagement classification, and it's a big deal.
Big deal.
And
Landis Center's a great
it's higher education's highest standard of commitment to the community engagement. So it was well deserved, I think, and I just wanted council to know that that was an award that they just recently received.
Thank you. Excellent
you.
award. Public Works Committee, Councilman Ettinger.
I have no report tonight.
Administration Committee, Councilman Milan.
I have nothing, Mayor, but I'm going to defer over to the administrator to give his report.
Mayor, just a quick update. I had advised council that a municipal newsletter, a quarterly municipal newsletter, is one of the deliverables that Blabbermouth Communication has put in the contract. We will be sending out to council to preview the newsletter. Please note, it's going to be a work in progress. We expect it to evolve. Two major themes. It's going to be municipal services and also any major events that the city hosts or sponsors. So stay tuned. We will be providing more information, not only to council but to the public. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Reporter Solicitor, Mr. Shear.
Thank you. We did have an executive session just prior to this meeting to discuss personnel issues. I also want to alert you that when you get to the item on the new business for the agreement with the dog agents, I'd like to address what I believe should be a clarification and amendment. That's all. When we get to that, I'll mention it.
Not a problem. Thank you for pointing that out.
Thank you. Any? Okay. Thank you. That's it.
This time, report of the mayor, I just want to mention that Friday night is Easton Out Loud in downtown Easton, and this weekend at 436 Northampton Street, our newest retailer, Your Sister's Closet, will be opening up. Their open house is from 12 to 6, and last week we did have on Saturday the Mardi Gras Parade, which was a huge success this year, as it was last year, but this year just keeps growing, and the only other thing I could tell you is that the state legislation that we're keeping an eye on for small cell antennas and for local radar used by local police is moving forward. I will have a resolution for Governor Wolf and the legislature to oppose his budget item that says that all municipalities will pay for state police protection in non-police communities, whether or not you have a full-time police department or not. I think that's totally unfair that cities and boroughs that have a full-time police department to be required to pay for those boroughs and townships that don't. One that comes to my mind is Upper Macungie Township, a very, very extremely wealthy township, the wealthiest township in Lehigh Valley, and has the lowest by far. I think they have 1 mil of real estate taxes, and they have no police department, so they're going to be protected by. There are state police are protecting them now, but starting with in the governor's budgets, he wants us to pay for it. I have a real problem with that.
You do.
I have a real problem with that. So I will be presenting a resolution in March to oppose that, with our copy going to Senator Boscola and Representative Bob Freeman. Moving on, there's no correspondence, unfinished business, Madam Clerk. Bill number 2.
Okay. We have bill number 2 that was introduced at the last meeting for amending Article 3, traffic control map of Chapter 560 of the codes.
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion. Moved and seconded.
So I kind of want to bring everyone, I think I emailed everyone 2 weeks ago about this. That block of Northampton Street was approved for meters back in 2017. So I'm not sure how the meters, or why the meters weren't installed. So I guess I'll defer to the mayor or Mr. Campos on an explanation as to why an ordinance wasn't enacted or implemented.
Actually, because that ordinance goes to the specific department, I have Chief Scalzo
Okay.
here, able to address that
Sure.
question.
Good evening, everybody. Chief Carl Scalzo, City of Easton Police Department, 48 North 4th Street, Easton, PA. The meters on the 600 block of Northampton Street, 2017, you're correct, that's when the ordinance was enacted to put meters on it was going to be on the northern side of the block only.
Southern.
Southern.
Southern side, I'm sorry, the southern side of the block only. We basically went into the next fiscal year to purchase those meters, which would have been 2018. The meters, the poles, and everything that went along with it was approximately $10,000 that we were going to purchase that. Meters were ordered that were slated to go in there. During that period of time of 2018, I believe it was San Diego, if I'm not mistaken, had a backlog with the company. Ours got put on back order. It took about 6 or 7 months to get those meters in. During that time was when the 5th Street project also came up that also needed a required meter. So when meters did come in, meters went to 5th Street. They also went to some other areas where we started to have shortfalls. on meters as far as things breaking, things like that. So then that brought us to the end of 2018, and in 2019 we started to do basically the site mapping for the meters up there. Some of the things that we came across when we started looking at actually putting meters in was going to be the reduction of about 6 or 7 spaces on the one side where the meters were going to go, because every meter space takes a certain amount of space. So we started putting that together. Along with the cost, we also started getting some concerns from the other side of the street who wanted meters as well, because their fear was that everybody would move from one side of the street to the other side of the street, and we'd have the same problem on the other side of the street. So our intention was to actually put something together through our traffic division to kind of present back here to council before we move forward with that project. And other than to say, it just kind of fell off our radar to get back here to kind of make that presentation sometime in 2019. That's kind of where we left it. So that's why they're not there now. And we'd still probably like to make that presentation, just so before we go ahead with the project, we can present some of the things that we're seeing as far as the implementation of that project. And again, to move forward isn't a problem. We could start tomorrow, order and do those things. We're thinking about a month to get meters in.
Okay.
Yeah, about a month to get meters in. And again, the cost is still right around that number, about $10,000 to do that. And then, and we can start to do the installation. But because of site distances, sight lines, things like that, there would be, some space losses and things like that that I don't think were considered I don't think we had that information when we first spoke of the project.
So I guess my question is, could we accommodate, we can probably accommodate the request from the business owner, where we probably could put two 15-minute meters in front of his establishment, so that we could actually properly ticket it, as opposed to the ordinance that we have in front of us from Dr. Ruggles, where you'd have to chalk it, correct? And I don't know the laws on chalking, so I apologize. I'm not going to speak on.
Correct. As far as overtime parking, it would either be having to be digitally chalked or something to that effect. If the intention for this whole project was to basically try to move vehicles to get turnover up there, and that's specifically where the issue is, that would be a solution to the problem. As far as it'd be a much more, I guess it would mitigate some of the downside to a bigger project. But yes, it would solve that specific problem for those.
And I think just I remember we had a public hearing about this back in 17. I think
correct.
with Lieutenant Crisafulli, I think.
Yes,
I think he was leading the charge.
that's correct.
So I just wanted, I'm glad you're here. Thank you so much for your information. So, based on the chief's recommendation, if it's okay if I can speak on your behalf, can we just table this until they present back to us on double-sided metering for the 600 block on Northampton Street? Can we just table this? Because I think we have the ordinance in place now.
That's correct.
So I want to just caution my colleagues on voting for something if we already have something in place. It hasn't been repealed yet, but now you're considering the other side of the street, which I support that, by the way.
Well, it's either going to be, again, we're just going to present the potential issues that could arise from
there's benefits too.
from metering just one side of the street,
Right.
And then decisions can be made based on that information. Is what we were thinking.
But there's benefits too.
But in the meantime,
You're gonna turn the cars in. You're not gonna have cars that sit there for, we'll have meters that are active, like Fifth Street actually. We can probably mimic the Fifth Street zone if you want.
right. If you do both sides, if you only do one side, we're just going to move them to the other side.
Right. No, and that was,
Yeah.
that was recommendation from your traffic division when they presented to us.
Just do the one side.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
Well, that's what we could do then. We can certainly, we could have a pretty short turnaround on, because a lot of the information we already have.
Sure.
As far as once the engineers went out and started doing all the placement and things like that. So we have a lot of the engineering that we could present in a pretty quick turnaround.
Dr. Ruggles? So even if we end up putting meters in,
Yes.
this ordinance just requires a 15-minute slot at that particular, in front of that particular location. So that would just be a 15-minute meter, right?
I believe, I'd have to look at the ordinance again.
We don't need ordinances for that. You guys can actually change the meters out.
That's correct. I think the ordinance is for the meters to basically meter that whole side of the street.
Between 6th and 647.
But my point is, if we pass this,
Right.
okay, all we're doing is we're allocating a slot in front of that particular business for a 15-minute slot, right?
I don't know that that's in the ordinance. Is that in the ordinance for I'm not sure. I have to look at the ordinance.
Well, no.
No.
Let me,
I'm not
saying
talking
is that
about
the
that
purpose of
ordinance.
this?
I'm talking about tonight's ordinance.
Well, tonight's
okay?
ordinance is just to create one space.
Right.
We're at one
We
space. there, right?
have the ordinance that we passed in 2017. Excuse me, Chief. I'm sorry.
That's okay. No problem.
The ordinance was for the southern end of Northampton between 600 and 644, 646. We can change that meter head out without an ordinance.
Correct.
They have the authority to do that. We don't have to put an ordinance
Right.
to change a meter from a
If
regular
you
meter.
pass tonight, though, I think what he's saying
Right.
is if you pass tonight, that's just for the 15-minute space.
Right.
That's
And,
correct.
and my point is, if this passes tonight,
Mhm.
and even if you come back and we decide to go ahead with the meters, we already have a 15-minute space allocated. So it just becomes a 15-minute meter, which you can put in anytime you want.
Still need the pole.
But you still
if-
need,
Still need
if
the
we,
pole that's gonna be put in for the sign,
right,
it'll go on that pole.
right.
Right.
And if we decide because of lack of parking spaces, or the loss of parking spaces, I should say, then if we pass this tonight, we would have that 15-minute space there. So either way, if we pass this tonight, we're still creating that 15-minute parking space, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes.
but 6-1 half doesn't have the ordinance is in place though.
The ordinance is already in place
The
for
ordinance is in
meters.
place right now, so we can put the meter there now.
Right.
Right, so, I mean, you're
I mean,
right.
I think we're just, I think we're stepping on each other.
No,
We're-
I think that it's a good discussion for you to come back and say, hey, I mean, I was unaware when we passed that ordinance that we were going to lose 6 parking spaces on that block. And I
As
think
was I.
that's a big deal.
On that
is.
side.
And
Just on that side.
yeah, on that side. And I think that's a real big deal. And so I'd like to revisit that with your input to see if we really want that to actually occur. I mean,
Right.
that's a lot of parking spaces.
Right, and if you pass this tonight, then I think what he's saying is if you pass this tonight and then decide down the road not to go with the remainder of the meters, then the 15-minute meter is still there because you're passing it tonight.
Right.
But I guess not to be technical, and maybe the solicitors can kind of interject here. Can we have ordinances that conflict each other for the same block?
We're not talking about the zoning ordinance.
Yeah, I mean, we don't want to do that. I mean,
I think it's. I mean, look, I'm not trying to make things complicated. I really not. Like,
I mean, if they conflict, we should be doing an amendment to.
well, it is conflicting because
Uh,
the street is metered based on the ordinance in 2017. I mean, that's the reality.
So that's what I'm saying. This new ordinance should include a provision amending the old ordinance so that it accommodates, so it's
Right.
not inconsistent and accommodates it.
Right. So that's why I think I prefer, if, that we just table this, and you guys can come back next meeting and present, because I think we're creating conflicts for no reason, frankly.
Well, and as I say, it should be easy enough just to add in this ordinance an amendment of the old ordinance to eliminate to eliminate a meter sufficient to accommodate
Right.
this other
That's
space.
fine.
That's all.
But this
It's like-
gentleman that's been requesting
For
this
2 years.
for 2 years, this spot has to continue to wait another 2 weeks, possibly, maybe longer.
Right, but I think, and I'm not defending the police department. Obviously, we lawfully passed an ordinance, and you heard what the chief said about meters and, painting spots. I mean,
Well, you know what? If everybody's going to be on the same page in the end anyway, I mean, everybody seems to be in agreement, and we want to do housekeeping so it doesn't conflict. Is this now the first stage? Is this an introduction
this
of
is
an
we're voting on this.
No, we're voting on it.
Okay, but you know what? It's not effective for 30 days.
Right.
That's the way our rules are. So
Right.
the next meeting, let's introduce an amendment to clarify the other ordinance. So, and then you'll just put it in effect at the end of 30 days. You'll know you've passed the other ordinance. We'll proceed at our own risk in eliminating those 2 meters if you pass the ordinance in 2 weeks to clean off the inconsistency. You've all recognized the inconsistency, and the way to do it is by an amendment to the other ordinance to eliminate the 2.
But I think that's my point, though.
Actually, you know what? I don't
don't
even.
have to.
I don't even think that's a substantial change. If you want to amend it tonight, this ordinance to recognize that because of the inconsistency, the parking meters may be removed to accommodate this. I think you could do that. It's not a substantive change that you need to re-advertise or anything.
I mean, I don't have any problem altering this to indicate that if meters are not put there, then this would take effect. But if meters are put there, then this
But
would
then,
not take
if
effect.
if that's your point, then if that's what council's wishes are, then we should repeal the ordinance. Then, I mean, we have an ordinance that's passed. It's legislation. If we don't want it, which I'm not opposed to it or supporting it, if you want to get rid of it, just repeal it. Then, I think creating this ordinance, passing this ordinance, just it's like you're double spacing it for one space. So if we don't want, we can pass this tonight, and then we'll just move to repeal the next one. Then, if that's the case.
And the issue goes, as the chief knows, and the captain goes way beyond this, is that we see people parking there all day.
Yep.
And they walk downtown. They park free all day. They walk to their job downtown, and then this business has no place to park because there's no turnover. So the meters will create turnover, and it'll help his business. My concern is we really have to start looking at the 15-minute spots in downtown because every business is asking for it because it's our practice. Our practice has been if they ask, they get it. And there's a lot of businesses that are saying to me, well, you gave it to them, why not me? And so pretty soon you're going to have 15-minute meters all over the place. So I think it's good to have the traffic division and the police department come back to give us a full scope of what, if the gentleman there deserves 15-minute meter in front of his place, then he should have it. If it really has that much of a takeout. Now, with Amon's Indian food store restaurant in downtown, I required them to give me a printout of his takeouts versus his eat-ins, and his takeouts are huge. It's 45% of his business. So if that's the case with Tierra del Fuego, fine, it's a takeout business, so you need turnover. I'm not trying to hurt the businesses by any stretch of the imagination, but I know that there are others that are starting to ask for it as well.
Mayor,
That's just the way it
can I
is.
interject for a second? Maybe if that's what we're going to do, maybe we can create a policy for that.
That'd be great.
That, if they do want to have a 15-minute spot, that they have to present some kind of report to, or, it's not legislative action, it's more of that's your action, right?
Yeah.
I'm assuming? It wouldn't be legislative.
No, that we don't, as far as granting a 15-minute, it
Yeah.
typically goes through council. That would be your decision. We don't,
15-minute meters?
from 15
That's you guys. We have nothing to do with that.
we don't,
If you change a meter out to 15 minutes, we have nothing to do with that.
we wouldn't issue a 15-minute meter somewhere unless there was, unless there was
I
some
don't-
approval
I've never approved a
for
15-minute
50 minutes.
meter.
50-minute meters. We won't.
A 15-minute pickup meter?
We did a Mons by legislation.
Yeah, well, that was by
It has to be,
legislation.
right?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it does have to be an ordinance. That's what I thought. It has to come through.
Well, then I think we should, we should solidify the ordinance then that if you do want a 15-minute meter, you have to present evidence that there's a hardship
warrants
actually.
it.
Yeah, it's a takeout. If you're a takeout business, you're not an eat-in.
So, but again, just back to this ordinance. I don't know how you feel about this, but I feel like we're creating conflicting legislation for the same block.
I feel bad for the gentleman.
Well, let's be honest though. The legislation is there. We just didn't implement it.
And I want to see it enforced because I see way too much abuse by downtown workers and owners who park in the spot right in front of their place.
Well, the ordinance that's there is for the meters on the
Southern end.
southern end of the
He's
street.
on the southern.
That's the ordinance, but the 15 minutes not included in that. That's just meters. That was the way to kind of turn over traffic. The 15 minutes is something that would be
It's a
different.
load unload zone. It's not a
There's no meter at all.
No. It's just of the pickup load unload. That's all it is.
So there's a space
In front of Tierra del Fuego. This ordinance is to create a 15-minute load unload in front of Tierra del Fuego. Meter.
Pickup.
It's a sign. It's a sign.
Captain Lahaina, City of Easton Police Department. I think that the reasonable solution here is instead of buying two $500 meter heads and make them 15 minutes, make them two 15-minute parking signs and not necessarily loading or unloading. Just kind of appeal to the common sense. It's 15 minutes. It doesn't matter what your business is. If you're picking up food or if you're dropping off an item for the restaurant to function, it doesn't matter. It's 15 minutes. And we can erect a sign under the ordinance for pennies on the dollar and
So I'm going to debate you for a second, if that's okay.
Sure.
My concern with that is we don't have the manpower to keep going up there if he calls and complains that someone's in his spot. At least if there's a meter,
I
can.
could counter that
Sure.
with the banana tree that proprietor calls us regularly. He has a 5-minute spot in front of his business. He has for my 24 years of employment here, and he calls us regularly, and we respond there without any problem. We just added 2 new parking enforcement officers. We have the LPRs in place. We can digitally chalk the tires if we see that there's a problem or issue that's reoccurring. We can address it in that manner, certainly through enforcement efforts we can. Now, that's not to say that we're going to capture every single violator, because that's unrealistic. But certainly, it would be something that would get a keen look at on a regular basis.
My preference is a meter. It's easily enforceable. If the meter's expired, they get a ticket, as opposed to chalking. And I mean, that's just my opinion. I mean, my colleagues could feel otherwise, but the legislation is in place, though.
Sure.
So I'm a bit confused here. Okay. First of all, yes, there is an ordinance for the meters on the south side of Northampton in that 600 block.
Correct.
Okay. Second, we've established that for Mons, we actually had to pass the fact that we put a 15-minute meter on there. As I understand from the chief, the current ordinance that we have in place for the meters on the south side does not have a 15-minute meter in it. Oh.
Yes.
Okay. Zone with no meters in it. So a load unload zone is already approved for this particular site, and that just means a sign goes up.
No, the meters are.
The meters are approved for the 600 block of Northampton Street. The 15-minute load and unload is for Amon's location. Is that correct?
That's a different.
Yeah,
That's different. But I'm trying to get clear. I thought that the ordinance that we passed, I don't remember what it said in it.
3 hour.
But
I'll pull it up. Give me a second.
But I believe that I'm just asking if that particular ordinance that we passed back in 2017 had the stipulation that there would be 15-minute meters
It does not.
in that block.
Does not.
Does not.
It just accounts for, I believe it's 18
Then-
18 metered spaces.
Hold on 1 second. I'm going to pull it up. Give me 1 second. Talk amongst yourselves. It's okay.
Yeah, I mean, the load unload zone, every business in downtown Easton would request the same exact thing.
Correct.
I'd be more, and we're dealing with an owner who has
That's been
abused
paid
it
vacation.
at Terra Cafe. I mean, I don't want it to become his personal parking space.
I think the difference between the 2 locations is at the one on the 300 block of Northampton Street is already metered.
Right.
It's already metered. It's been for many, many years. And then the new location does not have any right
people
now.
are
So
parking there all
there's no
day.
parking constraints at all there.
I have no problem with a time limit.
So
on it. I just don't think it should be a load unload.
I think we can accomplish the same thing with
Yeah.
15-minute signs.
Exactly.
Realistically. And
Because I'm sure he gets deliveries several times a day with either rolls or bread or
Whatever.
produce or
Sure.
whatever. So
If that's your purview, then I think we should repeal the ordinance then. I mean, if that's where council is going to go, then we should repeal the ordinance that's in there from 2017.
and give him the 15-minute
I mean,
drop off pickup.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
then wait till the chief comes back to see if we, in fact,
Pros and
truly
cons.
do want
Well,
meters.
but again, you're
Peter,
Yes.
if we pass this tonight,
Mhm.
okay, just hypothetically.
Sure.
If we pass this tonight, doesn't go into effect for 30 days.
Sure.
So our next meeting, we could get a report from the police, and at that point, we could look to repeal the previous one or repeal this one.
Roger. I support the ordinance. I want to be on the record. I support the ordinance. I just don't think I think we're just adding more layers to it for no reason. And I'm just being honest.
Yeah, and I do agree, we have to clean it up. We have to avoid
So-
having 2 things that are inconsistent.
So I mean,
If we've
All
identified.
I'm trying to do is not postpone it.
No, I'm saying,
Right, but-
you're following what I suggested, but I'm just saying that Councilman Milan is right. We need to,
Yeah.
when we identify these inconsistencies,
I
we
have no
clean it
problem
up.
with what
no,
you're
no.
saying.
I think we're on the same page. I just don't think that it's necessary to create an ordinance on top of an ordinance.
I understand what you're saying.
I mean,
From
we're just,
Dr. Ruggles' perspective, it's a matter of timing. From your statement is a better practice.
so, I mean,
I'm trying to.
but do you have meters at the
Accommodate.
station?
No, we
Oh,
would
okay.
have to order them.
Never mind then.
We would have to order them because
So-
it's, this time of year, what ends up happening is everybody's already thinking about their
Gotcha.
tourism and everything, so the orders come in this time of year, like crazy, so.
What if we did like a parking kiosk? Oh, see that? I'm thinking.
6 to 8
Chief
weeks.
Scalzo told me that.
6
He
to
told
8
me
week
that.
lead time
Chief still
on,
here?
on
He's
the,
here.
He's smiling.
on the multi-space
Kiosks.
meters.
Hiding down
I,
below.
I love the idea of a
I will.
multi-space meter.
I will talk to the administrator and the finance director after this meeting.
We
Look
are-
at that. I just
6 to
solved
8
the problem.
6 to 8 week lead time on those as well.
You know what? We're good. I'll talk to the administrator after this.
And they're already ordered. They're getting ready. They're on the lease tonight, aren't they? No, they're not on the lease
No.
tonight.
See
They're
that?
going to be ordered.
I solved your problem, Captain Hannon.
I don't have
Chief,
any problems.
See that?
That's
No one's
nice.
mad at me tonight. They're all laughing. That's good.
Louis, remember, he has no problems.
Tonight.
Oh, tonight.
Well, I'm medicated
Well-
tonight. We're good. Plus, I'm.
Okay, so what do we do?
Yeah.
All right. So we're good
All right.
then.
Okay.
Thank you. Oh, and by the way, just the ordinance does not count the number of meters. The ordinance that we passed in 2017 has no indication for the number of meters.
I used that. I got that number based on the
No, I'm.
the length of the
Yeah.
distance that we had available to us to put meters in versus how long each space needs to be. 22 feet in the middle, 20 feet on the ends. It's going to give us 18 spaces.
And those are PennDOT standards, correct?
No. That's what we use. That's what we use as a standard. There are no guidelines on that.
PennDOT just cares how close you are to the
On
corner.
the end, it's easier to get out. In the middle, you have to,
Gotcha.
just need that room.
Thank you both. Thank you.
Okay.
What are we doing?
What are we doing with bill number 2?
My recommendation, personally,
It's 2.
is that we pass it. We vote on it, and then to what the solicitor said, if we don't like it, then we'll repeal it, or we'll amend Bill 21, or we just get rid of it.
Okay, so Councilman
So for a
Milano is
vote.
calling the question. Madam Clerk?
I'm requesting a vote, Mayor. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm requesting a vote. I mean, I think we can vote on it, and based on what the solicitor said.
It was been introduced and seconded, so now there was plenty of discussion, and it was good discussion, actually, because parking, whenever the P word comes up at a staff meeting, it's usually 2 hours, so. Madam Clerk, you could call the question.
Yep. Mr. Panto?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Ettinger? Aye. Mr. Milan?
Aye.
Mr. O'Connell?
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mrs. Volcano?
Aye.
New business.
Okay. We have a resolution being introduced by Mrs. Volcano authorizing the city to file formal application for a RACP grant and then authorizing the mayor to sign all those documents regarding the grant.
So moved.
Second.
Moved in second discussion.
Mr.
I thought we were doing a reimbursement resolution. It is it also included?
That's on the.
Oh, that's the one at the bottom, right? I'm
Yep.
sorry. Okay, I didn't get that far in the agenda. Okay, any discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Ettinger? Aye. Mr. Milan?
Aye.
Mr. O'Connell?
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mrs. Volcano?
Aye.
Mayor Panto?
Aye.
Okay, we have a resolution being introduced by Dr. Ruggles on approving an employment agreement with the city of Easton Dog Units.
So move.
Let's move in second first, and then we'll have.
Yeah, I would recommend.
Hold on, do we have a second?
Oh, yeah.
Second.
We have a second.
I'm sorry, I thought you had seconded. My recommendation is that you either table, my recommendation is you actually remove it or completely withdraw it, because I believe the best way to handle this is you pass in the next item, the salary ordinance. So you establish the animal control officer's salary, and then this employment agreement, instead of it being an employment agreement, we'll simply work with, I'll work with Stephanie for a job description with terms of employment, and these two individuals will be retained pursuant to our regular employment, instead of a special employment agreement, because I noted it's a 3-year term. We're not going to, we shouldn't have 3-year terms. There's lots of reasons
We
why
should have a contract with an employee.
What, excuse me?
We have a contract with two employees.
Yeah,
so-
we,
Well, they used to be independent
I,
contractors.
well, if they were independent contractors, I wouldn't have the problem. I have an issue with it as an employee, and I believe that it's gonna be a lot cleaner to just handle this as something that, through HR, they recognize what their job duties are, and they sign off, and you've
I don't want to
approved,
throw mud on
and
the,
you've approved the salary range.
but why wouldn't this be an AFSCME position? If it's going to be an
It's
employee.
part-time.
Part-time.
Oh, it's part-time.
It's
okay.
very part,
Well, they
it's
can
very,
still join if they want.
it's very part-time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
salary too.
But can I ask a question now, more for housekeeping? The chief's name is on here for signature.
Because it comes under the chief.
Well, that's another reason why the way, originally I was just gonna ask for it to be tabled so we could rework it.
Can we just withdraw it then?
Yes, that's what, I'm recommending you withdraw it and you approve the wage and salary ordinance.
Okay.
And then we'll take care of it administratively to have these people acknowledge their duties.
Okay.
Rita, I'm gonna move to withdraw it.
And then you would come back with,
No, we won't come back. We'll deal with it
job
administratively.
descriptions?
You've approved it. You don't approve.
Yep.
You don't, do you
We
approve all job
Council
descriptions?
approves job descriptions.
Well,
So you would come back with the job
Job
description
description?
at that point?
we can, but it's this is a very unique arrangement.
Very.
Okay. Well, I mean, I think if that's the case, if you're coming back, I don't see any sense of tabling. So I would just withdraw that motion
Right.
if it's okay with the second.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what he
I
just
just moved it.
said to
withdraw
move to withdraw.
Okay.
I need a second. on
Move to
that.
withdraw. We need a
Second.
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 By Councilman Volcano. Roll call.
Okay. Mr. Ettinger? Mr. Milan?
Aye.
Mr. O'Connell?
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mrs. Volcano?
Aye.
Mayor Panto?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Hang on one second. We have a resolution being introduced by Mr. Milan, amending the salary and wage ordinance of 2020.
So moved.
Second.
Moved in second. Discussion.
Just real quick, Mayor. Joel, you're okay with this?
You okay with the wage?
You
and
okay with the
salary?
resolution the way it is?
Absolutely,
sure.
absolutely, yeah. Because that's what I've been
I just wanna make
advised
sure
is the
before
salary.
we,
Yeah,
make sure
no,
before we vote on it.
no, thank you.
We're good, Rita.
Mr. Milan?
Aye.
Mr. O'Connell?
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mrs. Volcano?
Aye.
Mayor Panto?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Ettinger? We have a resolution being introduced by Mr. Brown approving a contract between the City of Easton and No Nonsense Neutering.
Move.
Second.
Moved in second. Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. O'Connell?
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mrs. Volcano?
Aye.
Mayor Panto?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Ettinger? Mr. Milan?
Aye.
We have a resolution being introduced by Mr. Brown declaring the official intent of the council of the city to issue bonds or notes to fund various capital improvements to the city's facilities and to reimburse its capitals reserve, construction fund, and general fund for expenditures made for such project.
Move.
Second.
Moved in second. The only thing that I noticed when I was reading this earlier this afternoon, nowhere on here does it mention what the project is.
It doesn't. No, you're right.
What I was given.
The project.
It's a reimbursement agreement, as we do with all RCAPs and bond issues, but I don't,
It said
It
parking.
said
I did on the first one, but not on this
Not
one.
on not on the resolution
Oh.
itself.
Um,
We know what it's.
Yeah,
but
it
not
says
spelled
here,
out.
improvements to the city's
Says it.
facilities included but not limited to the construction of a new parking structure.
Oh, okay.
No,
Okay,
first
yeah,
whereas.
known as the
All right.
project.
Okay, okay.
Okay.
The first paragraph.
the first whereas.
Yeah, there I see it. Probably didn't need to read, I don't like to read the warehouses.
Where were we?
Roll call.
Dr. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mrs. Volcano?
Aye.
Mayor Panto?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Ettinger? Mr. Milan?
Aye.
Mr. O'Connell?
Aye.
Before we get to public comment, I just want to introduce a young lady who's here from Easton Area High School who has been accepted to the Naval Academy. Alex, why don't you stand up? Her father is one of our firefighters. Very proud of her. She's also on the cross-country and track team.
That's right.
Well, no, just cross country. I'm sorry. That's right, softball, because you play for the Little Rovers. I remember.
Yeah.
So, and her father is Terrence, who's also one of our dedicated firefighters. So I just want to how proud we are of her. Thank
Accepted to where, Mayor?
you. U.S. Naval Academy, where her father went. So at this point in the meeting, we have comment from the public on any item that you'd like to speak about. If you'd like to come up, please give your name and address. If you want to address council, any comments, concerns? We also had the 185 committee. If you have any questions on that, we're taking comments on that as well again tonight. At the March meetings, we'll have the developer give the presentation again. But we are taking comments if you have any comments on that.
Will they be giving the presentation on Wednesday or Tuesday night?
Probably.
March.
I don't know. I'll have to ask them, but we didn't really schedule it yet. But
Okay.
probably Tuesday or Wednesday.
Well, yeah, that's what I just asked.
Going to make the presentation available.
The presentation will be made available on the website also, so you can see it on the website. Okay, move to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Mr. O'Connell?
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mrs. Volcano?
Aye.
Mayor Panto?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Ettinger?
Aye.
Mr. Milan?
Aye.
Thank you for
You're welcome.
saying you're gonna talk to them.
Yeah.
And move that, because, the sooner the better. So she
I
has
will.
a little bit of leeway
Yeah, but go.
if something happens.